Hi, it's Jeff. Got the think I got my microphone issue kind of fixed up here. I've been having a lot of, the microphone content. The quality's been difficult. I think I fixed that problem. The video today here is about International Mother Tongue or Mother Language Day. I think it was a mother language it was called, but mother tongue, mother language, kind of the same thing. I'll say both because I'm not sure which is the official name because I haven't I haven't looked at the thing and I totally forgot to check. Um, so. Um, I want to start this by saying that someone from actually Bangladesh told me yesterday through a chat. I learned something new, and I'm a linguist, and I've been supporting a lot of minority languages for like 3 decades. Um, and he told me that the International Mother Language or Mother Tongue Day actually came from Bangladesh because Bangla was the people in Bangladesh fought for their their mother tongue to be recognized as the mother tongue of the country. And it's up on the Wikipedia page. And that people died for this. And in 1952, UNESCO decided to establish, to honor the martyrs for their people of their language by setting up this, International Mother Language Day. And it's been ongoing, and it's always on February 21st every year. And so that's what this comes from. And I didn't know that. I honestly was ignorant of that part just because for different reasons. We say, oh, it's not possible. Yeah, it was possible. I didn't know. Although I've been supporting this for like 20, 30 years. So, okay. But just want to say my vision or what I think about what I think is important for mother, this whole International Mother Tongue, Mother Language Day, and my experience with it. And I've been doing this for 30 years. I did my first college degree. Well, I actually studied. There are videos kind of tell more of the history of it, but I'll just say, in junior high school, I liked languages. There's French and Spanish, and I got into those. And but I stopped it because we're supposed to do math, right? So, but I came back to them in high school, and I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop doing. I'm going to stop doing the math that things that don't interest me in the math, and I'm going to do the language stuff. Though I'm actually doing math stuff right now for my job 30 years later, but hey. But I did do pursue the French and the Spanish and the French to a level that, I was actually helping to be a teaching assistant in high school, which is that's not normal. I mean, that's kind of atypical. I got an award for it. I mean, I was surprised, that was that type one time. And then I went on to college, and actually, the college I went to didn't actually have any modern languages. They only had some old ancient languages, Old Greek and Old Hebrew, and I didn't want to learn them. I did took first class, intro class, but it just didn't get me. And people said, "Why not, Jeff? You like languages?" I said, "Because they're dead. They're dead languages. Like learning Latin just didn't interest me. It does now, and I did study these languages afterwards." Years later, when I was in graduate school doing my master's, doctorate, because I need to do historical analysis on where the words came from, where the terms came from. So I need to go back to Latin, to Low Latin, to Classical Latin, to Greek and Old Greek and stuff. And I mean, there are reasons why to do this, but I didn't do it while I was in college because it didn't interest me because they're dead. I don't want to work in dead languages. And so this influences what I've been doing for past 30 years. And then I get to go on, and I worked on chose Creole languages. I want to go to Africa. Didn't all quite work out as I'd planned to do it, and that's okay. I found another set of languages to work on that were kind of. I did a bachelor's degree in French, a second bachelor's degree in French. My second one, my first one's in these other languages and other comparative literature and that kind of stuff, and text analysis and all that kind of stuff. But the second one was in French. I did it really quickly, and then went off, and I've had a bunch of fellowships and stuff, and teaching assistantships, and I've been able to teach at places that are like top places, and that's really cool, and do linguistics and study linguistics at top places, and that's been really cool. But over time, what I've kind of been on a 3-decade kind of pursuit of not just learning the language for learning the language purposes, but to actually I want to build translation systems for them, and that's what I did. Or I just had the chance to be able to do that from the beginning with some major languages, some major international languages, and I got the opportunity to actually do it for one minority language, Haitian Creole, and we did it successfully, and that got me going on that. So I'd continue for the rest of my career to do it for major languages, these translation systems that you can see on like Google Translate but the commercial ones, the ones that you sell and for licensing and you sell to customers and do it for their websites and all that kind of stuff and content, training and all that. You just use it for all those major languages. But I still, on the side, I've used that to be able to allow me to do it for the minority languages. So, and that's where my interest is. But the major languages put food on the table, right? House over the roof over the head. The other languages are keep me going and keep me interested in it. Okay, and my employers always let me do this, knowing that we have certain conditions I can do that in, and that works. That works out well. But finally, and I'm not going to tell the whole story because there are other videos to tell the story. I don't want to tell the whole story here because I'd be telling it over like the NEM time. So the end time. But the having when we finally were able to release the data for the Haitian Creole project and from Carnegie Mellon University in 2010 for the disaster that happened there in January, that taught us in the field of computational linguistics and of language technologies what we could do quickly with language that were there, because all the language previous that on all these online translation systems, actually in the commercial ones, to tell you the truth, we're pretty much the major European languages. When I say major European, that includes the Americas too, because really the major European, because French, English, and Spanish, and actually Portuguese, that are major international languages in the West and the Americas continents, come from Europe. Okay, so I'm just gonna say European languages. And so you have Western European languages, Northern European languages, and Central European language if you want, and maybe Southern European language if you want to kind of break it down to that. So pretty much all these online translation systems and the voice spoken systems, we're pretty much focusing on those types of languages. And Asian languages, some Asian languages like Chinese. And Arabic was kind of getting there, but it was kind of tough to do. Because we'd done it too. We'd worked on it. So those are kind of the language that were the thing. And the rest of the 8,000 language for 8 billion people were just like not there. So when we did the Haitian Creole thing, we got that in the Microsoft Translator in 4 days, 17 hours and 30 minutes. That's a world record. Okay. And then Google Translate the next week. That taught us, because we had data that we didn't know about. I knew about it, but no one else knew about it. And I just said, we're going to do something about it to help people, save people's lives. That's what we're going to do. If I hadn't been behind it, this not would have happened. And we'd still be kind of getting along. But this taught us how fast you can put a language together in a system like that, a translation system that's accessible on a phone, on Microsoft Translator app or Google Translate app in like record time. And it taught us and how much more data you can collect fast, including that data, and how much data you can actually collect and clean up when it's bad data, and how much faster you can clean it up, and what you can do with that, and how you can mix it and deal with it. It taught us and how you can do it for text to text. And so we've seen since that time, since in 2010, that the number of languages have grown exponentially. Because it allowed us to, all those companies doing this to estimate better estimations and get business cases for how fast they can do other minority languages, and get governments doing it and get them to do it and getting funding for doing all that kind of stuff and getting the traction. But none of us is before. So this was like the springboard, that moment in time. The Haitian Creole one was the moment in time. And so we have what Microsoft recently said they have 100 languages in their Microsoft Translate today, which is great, and Google, it's pretty comparable, give or take a few. same kind of languages. And now we're beginning to see, like, you can see, three different Nigerian languages. You've got, Hausa and Yoruba and Igbo in there. You get like three or four different versions of Chinese. If you want traditional, you want simplified. If you want Cantonese, traditional Chinese. I mean, you got different versions, to a certain extent. And this includes the speech and text, and some are only text to text and some are speech. Now I want to cover that too. Text to text language. Text is the language. It's the mother tongue of no one in the world. I'm going to discount the fact that sign language it's a signed language, so it's concepts. It's not written. It's visual as well, but it's something different. And there are people that do learn to read and write if they're deaf, because it's a way that they have to learn because they can't communicate with their families, and that's not always true. I mean, these are exceptions, okay? I want to call these exceptions. And the whole thing about Jeannie, when her name Jeannie was put in the room and stuff, and she couldn't communicate with the parents. Her parent couldn't. That's kind of like super exceptions. And Tarzan is like another exception, but he was doing animal talk, right? So he was doing vocal talk with animals. And they weren't writing anything, so whatever. It's all visual and vocal, visual and vocal. Hey, I'm gonna use vocal from now, and I think that's gonna sound better. Glad to do this video to figure that out. But really, it's none of these languages are, the written languages are really the mother tongue of no one, and it's the second language of everyone, that learns it. This is school language. Okay, it comes from school, education. A little bit of home, but mainly school, because you're forced to go to school and all that kind of stuff and learn it. And then they use that and really it's used for long-term memory. Basically, it's for you so you don't have to memorize things anymore, so you can write them down and writing and stuff, and even you can look at the hieroglyphics and all this stuff. This is when it's written down, it's traceable and you can go back and see it and what it is. Whereas spoken language it's temporal, it disappears. Spoken language disappears. So what you do is you do have a written language so that you can actually keep a long-term version of what's spoken, right? So that's what it is. I'm trying to simplify this. I'm trying to get the details. Some linguists say, you got to do this. I'm just trying to make it simple for people here, folks. I'm not trying to I can do all the complex stuff. We can have roundtables about this and have debates, but I'm trying to simplify it for the people that are, that might be listening. They're just not linguists, and they're not into this thing. They're not language lovers, and they're not language nerds and stuff. This is just not, what their thing is. But they just want to kind of know about this. And I want to say that Tom Sawalis, in January of 1997, look it up, Tom Sawalis, Linguist List, look up Ebonics. And he had to get a great post about this, the whole Ebonics debate of, African American English Ebonics, in 1997 when the whole California thing came up, and language and stuff, and he said his post there, and it was really, I keep reminding myself of this, that and saying it, that mother, English, the spoken tongue is the only mother tongue, and writing is a second language to everyone. Some people master. He said some people master. Okay, some people get good at it, and some people don't. Doesn't matter what color your skin is. Doesn't matter your facial traits. Okay, it doesn't matter. Some people get good at it, and some people don't. And we just need to accept that. And even if you get educated, and you get up high, sometimes people struggle with it. Add to that dyslexia. And other kinds of challenges. I do have a dyslexic son, so I've kind of gone through this, and I'm always finding other ways to present things and to him, and finding other ways, and it works when you find other ways that are not written, not written. Hey, do it. This like comic books. I love reading comic books or other things, or doing things manual and gestures and stuff, and that just works well. Great. And I've worked with other challenged people, and I've done other videos talking about this, and the guy, the banker and stuff, was my language champion. So, I mean, there have been other, I've been through this. I'm sorry I get the little dinging here. I need this dinging here. Dang. But that's the dinging happened because I just forgot to turn out that other app. So, just LinkedIn coming up with that. Little dings. Sorry about that. But just want to say that it's because of this. There's there is not the need to have to, um, there are certain limits to what you want to do with languages. Okay. And there are times when it's appropriate to do things not. So my whole goal is always to put language in the technology so we can use it on these apps, and not just apps, not just the translation system. I want to get into Word. I want to, if we can get these languages into Word, into PowerPoint, to Chrome, all the menu items and all stuff, and so you can actually read it. All the menu item stuff is in the language you're doing. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, it's all there, and you're actually having your experience with these apps that you're using there all the time. And even this video editing software, it can be in the languages, these minor languages. Hey, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, because I believe that that's the way we do it. All these committees and stuff to have to, get the governments and the ministries, Minister of Education kind of stuff to make decisions stuff. For me, that's okay. Some people can follow it. That took centuries and decades, depending on the country. We're getting faster at it, but now I believe we can do this in months to years, rather than decades, because we could do it with the apps. We do it with the technology that people access that they're using already, because we're getting the mobile devices. It's just like, look how many phones are in the world today. And we're bringing it back to, once you get it there, it's grassroots. People are using it, and then there's no discussion about what it is. And I've been saying for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, that once you get these minor languages into the software and into the things that people are using on their devices, then mobile devices, then there's just no more discussion right now, of what it is, because it's compared with other major languages. It's there. It just coexists with them. So there's no question anymore if it's a language or a broken thing. Just want to bring up too that I'd actually worked on, back in graduate school, I worked on a local dialect, or a patois, if you want to call it. I got a whole video on what is language. Watch that. What is language? Because I explain these different levels and from different points of view, not just one point of view, but multiple points of view, several different points of view. And I think that's good to just watch that. But so there's a local kind of patois dialect town, village that had certain thing. And I was going, and I took a dialectology course, and he wanted to give me a thesis. So I said, I'll do a thesis on this and that. So I went up there and spent the weekends on that for like 4 months doing survey work on that language, trying to figure out what words were coming from that local old patois, the old language, and coming into modern day French, and was coming through lower income housing families. We can see that kind of words come through, not the elite, and to their children, and it was kind of obvious along those lines, but there wasn't like, there were some old folks that were, some old men that were getting together, once a week, coffee, doing dictionary and stuff, but no one else is like practicing and saying it, and there's all that, and they're doing it for, because they want to, it's heritage. It's, there's a heritage thing. There's all this that comes into play. It's identity. But the problem is the younger folks aren't. But they're you getting some words that are coming in, and they're introducing it as the modern day French, and that's what I was working on. Pretty cool, but I just wouldn't be able to do the thesis fast enough, so I did the thesis on Creole language really fast. But I kept all that other stuff, and I actually did some seminars on it. Maybe I should do some stuff and talk about it more in a video. I got that up in the box upstairs in my attic, right? But that taught me a little bit about transfer of words and stuff, and how valuable language is to people, and to what point language will continue or it'll die, and when you only have a few people speaking it in the end. And then also going to my family, when we started having children, we could take vacations off into Brittany, after Western France, and several times a year, and so I'd go and learn the we'd go and take a week off, and the family would all be doing flying kites and stuff, and I'm down at the local bar learn from the old guys, what the family's doing stuff, and I'm running down to the bar in the morning, not to have a drink, but just get a coffee, but I want to learn the local language. I want to learn this local dialect that I speak. I'm just like totally weird. My wife, when we got my, I said another joke that another video that I said my wife, when we got married, she said when we went on a honeymoon, she says, we're not going to somewhere you can learn the language in a week. We're not going anywhere you can learn the language in a week. So we're not, especially not going to anywhere in the Caribbean, because that's not we're not going to make this a linguistic, survey for you. And we're not going to go anywhere that you can learn the language in a week. So we went to Morocco. So yeah, it's just, we kind of, that's who I am. So when we go on vacations into Brittany, Western France, I have noticed the many times you've been there that I've talked to people, and stuff, and yeah, there are claims, there are linguists that claim yes, it's there. You can see all these people that are claiming that they've got these pockets of people doing school and literacy stuff. I mean, I hear claims about it all the time, but my experience in going there and at least being as a visitor and watching and and asking questions and trying to find out and going down to the port, the guys are talking and just listening to them, I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing very much of it. Very little. But I do see all the road signs. They're all translated into Breton, and as a translator, not as a linguist, a trained linguist and a practicing linguist, and as a translator as well, okay, I find this a waste of money, a total waste of money, because there's no business justification for having all these road signs in Breton. Whereas there's more English speakers, there are the people that know English than on the roads than there are people that speak Breton, to tell you the truth. So it's way better. It's a way better use of money to actually translate in English. And I'm not saying it because of my mother tongue. I'm just saying, hey, that's the language that all these tourists can understand. That's what it is. So why not put it in the language that tourists understand rather than local people, when there's only not very many people using it? Okay, I'm serious. So I think that's a waste of money, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flames for that, but that's okay. My purpose is to be practical, right? And do things that are practical, not be just waste of money for nothing, not just to kind of make this fake claim and stuff. And I'm saying it's a fake claim. I'm just not seeing I'm not seeing any proof. Just not seeing any proof. And we'd go there every year because that's where the association we adopted my son, and we go every single year, and we go regularly. And I didn't see in different places. Didn't go to the same place all the time. I just didn't see it. Didn't see that there was enough of it. Yeah, I know there are some places. I know where they are, and I could go there, but I'm just not seeing the proof enough that there's enough. It's sustainable, benefit for certain reasons that the people want to do it. If they want to, that's fine. But so these kinds of things are, what important is deciding at what point, to what extent. I would myself as a linguist, I would not be combating and fighting for a language that we have to be doing until there's only 2 speakers left. For me, that would be too late. It's just for the kind of things I do. It's not possible. It's not worth it, because it's too late. I can't put it into technologies. It's just way late. It's dead. I'll do it when there's a core group. There's enough people. The business justification to do it. And there are times when it's too late. For me, I'm not saying it's too late for others, and I'm not going to judge others if they want to do it. And if they want to get funding for it, that's great. I'd just rather do funding I'd rather get the funding for the things that I know we're going to be able to keep it up and do it. So I make some choices there. Like in the Haitian Creole thing, I'll say that my company that sells 2,000 products, 2,000 software products to 30 different industries. There's no way we're ever going to have Haitian Creole or any of the Creole languages, to be able to tell you the truth. Any of the French Creole language or any of the Creole languages will never be. No, I'd never ask for to be able to put these languages into the software. Translating the documentation, translating the user documentation, translating all the website marketing materials, and translating all the menus, items, and fields inside the software. Never do it. I'd never ask for Haitian Creole or any Creole language, because never sell it to a customer. These are expensive software. It's just not. It's totally a waste of money. Just not a business justification for it. To do it for corporate social responsibility and social impact, and showing that we can test things, we can do things, and show how fast we can do for new languages. Yeah, that's interesting for research purposes, but not for any kind of software stuff that has a true business justification and return on investment for the company. So they let me do this kind of for fun, but not to make money off it, right? Maybe we can test it in the thing. We can test it, do that to test it for other languages to see how fast we can do it. But that's not the purpose here. So there are times when I just think it's not impractical to pursue it. Um, that's my opinion. And yes, I do make software. And yes, I'm not an academic, and no, I'm not going out. No, I'm not an academic, and no, I'm not going and just teaching classes on things that interest me. Um, that's all I'm doing. I do courses and do seminars and stuff that interest the people that are going to be the audience that bear. That I'm going to be sure of it, and we kind of test that and see. And when they ask me to conferences, they kind of test that on the 20 or 30 proposals I've got. What are the ones that the users are asking for? Really, that's what we're going to have me talk about, not for things that interest me. So these kinds of things are how I see linguistics, and how I see International Mother Tongue Language Day. That support I'm willing to support and promote those languages that I know have the chance to be successful, to be able to continue on and have a core group of native speakers that are wanting to do it and are willing to do it. Not everybody wants to too. There's a lot of that, and I see a lot of resistance in that too, for certain reasons, for socioeconomic gain. People don't want to continue the language for other reasons, and we can have this fake thing that's thinking, oh yeah, all the native speakers want to do it. No, they don't. So there's a bit of that too, and I think there's a kind of some false hope in that you don't always. It's not always there, and you've got to create the motivation there. It's not always there, and especially in decolonized countries and all that kind of stuff. The colonization, decolonization, boy, that just creates a whole nother layer of stuff you got to deal with. So I like to keep all that in the context and keep it in mind when I'm working on anything, what I'm going to support, what I'm going to ask for funding for, okay? And what I believe we're going to be able to get something done with, and we'll have the chance of getting done. You're going to have the collaboration of people who want to help you, rather than believing that you're going to find those people, and then you don't find them, and then you can't deliver the thing, and then you're just, I stay away from those kinds of projects because it just, it doesn't give you a good reputation if you don't actually deliver something in the end. But whatever language you can support that are spoken, and that's kind of the next challenge, is to do, speech, having Alexa and Siri and all these languages for all these other minority languages on your phones and stuff, your mobile devices and your, whatever. That's the next challenge. It's a lot of work. And I've done some seminars. I've actually done seminars in French about this at the University of Carayou. So I've actually done it, explain all this kind of stuff 20 or 25 years ago. I mean, we got a little bit different now, but hey, it's still applicable. I mean, we're not going to nitpick over the slightly different technology stacks and how we're going to do it, okay? We can have roundtables to discuss that and have debates over that with all those geeks, okay? But here I'm just trying to give a kind of a general feeling of what you can do, what you can't do. So yeah, I'm totally. I want to support folks like Translators Without Borders, what you're doing for translation, all these other all the languages that are possible for disaster relief kind of situations and all the scenarios. Clear Global, hey, I'm totally for what you're doing. Want to shout out to you, all you folks. You know who you are. I know who you are. I don't want to start naming all these names all over the place, but I'm willing to support you all that, and I'm willing to help give you some do what we can to do it when we know that those languages are that there's enough interest in being able to provide the content into those languages and have technology to be able to do it, because we're dealing with disasters a lot of the time, and how to approach that, how do you get the people, communication to people, crowd control, delivery of water, food supply, all that kind of stuff. It's and you got to do it by voice. You can't do it by written. Okay, you can't do this by written, folks. Okay, sometimes you can do it by written, but hey, a lot of this is by voice. So the voice is kind of the big challenge. And that's what I like doing. And that's like our next frontier is really getting to that. And that's tough. It's tough. It's going to be really, really tough. That's why we like doing tough stuff, right? It's trying to get all this. And if you want to watch, know more about that, watch other videos I've done on that and explain all this stuff, and lots of publications about it. But watch the videos because it summarizes what I've written. So the written stuff's longer, so it's and summarizing what other people have said too sometimes. So it's yeah. So those are thoughts on International Mother Language Day, Mother Tongue Day. Totally support it, and sometimes in certain circumstances, um, it's not going to always be possible to do it, and there will be language that die, um, and then become like Latin and ancient Greek and ancient Hebrew. They will go through that phase, unfortunately. But that's all about language selection, language choice, and all that, and language policy and stuff. And sometimes you can get leaders to choose to support language. Sometimes you can't, and the people stop supporting it themselves. Then that's going to go. So I got to deal with it. But you can do it up to a certain point. So that's. But hey, have some great debate about this. Have some great different perspectives on this. It's important. There's no one right answer to everything here. It's kind of all depends. So, thank you so much for listening, and have a good International Mother Tongue and Mother Language Day coming up tomorrow.